Hello, good afternoon, good evening, good morning and welcome. It's Nurse Richard, the Wax Wizard. Thanks for joining me. I think you're going to really enjoy this and find it very interesting and a bit weird as well. It all gets a bit weird at the end. You'll see why, but you've got to stick with it, unfortunately. What this is a mastoid cavity. I'll get into that in a bit. And there's a lot of really delicate, fine peeling work in this. Very different. Now, as you can see pretty much all of the canal, pretty much all the cavity, and the majority of what's left of the eardrum. I think that was reconstructed a number of years ago. So you're probably thinking, well, why does it take you? How long is this video? 19 minutes, 26 seconds. Why does it take you that long? Which I get a lot of those type of comments anyway, but that's another story. But the reason, you might have seen this here before. If ever you've seen any mastoid cavities on my channel, chances are there's more than half a chance that it's this gentleman's ear, because he does see me very often. Sees me every 3-4 months, there or thereabouts. And the reason for that is, well, he likes it being spotless, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I wouldn't do anything just because it looks nice. It's got to serve a purpose as well. And the reason he needs his doing so often, before he came to see me, he used to see public health, and it was the ear, nose and throat, which he still does every now and then, just not as frequently. I'm not sure they can offer appointments as frequently as I can. It's not their fault, it's just the sheer volume of work they've got to do, and the waiting lists and what have you. But I think he used to see them once every year or so, there or thereabouts. And what they could do, they'd probably get a shorter appointment time than I can give as well. So they could clear the main canal and the majority of the debris in the cavity enough to restore his hearing, because it did used to build up quite a lot. But anything further to that, I think they struggle to find time with, which isn't their fault. So he comes to me in between going to see them to have a really thorough peel. And the reason for that is constantly getting chronic fungal infections in this ear. Always has, but as long as we make sure we're giving it as good a peel as we possibly can every few months, then he doesn't get any symptoms from it. Now you might see the odd little specks of white everywhere, embedded in some of this skin. Excuse me, there's a cough coming. A lot of it about at the moment. Sorry about that. Where was I? Oh yeah, so you'll see these possible little fungal spores. Well, I know it's not possible. They definitely are, because he's had swabs in the past before, and it's confirmed that they're kind of almost always there. And he's a model patient, doesn't get water in his ear to any extent. He's obviously just got one of those ears that's particularly prone and susceptible. It's not easy to say. Try saying that after a couple of bevies. So I find if you strip it, and I mean really strip it, even the really finest layer of skin, then that removes the majority of the spores that are in there, and it makes it less likely that he'll get too many symptoms from it, which is being terribly itchy. So like I said, it doesn't look like much, but trust me, when we get into the nitty-gritty of it, there is also a really weird area right at the back, right at the top of his eardrum, and potentially it could be something that's been growing beyond the eardrum. I was a bit wary as to whether to remove it or touch it, but I'm glad I did now, because he actually said it made a huge difference. You might not be able to see it. Yeah, you can just see it in the distance there, in the top left corner. There is a chance that some of that skin there was kind of growing over the top. No, yeah, his eardrum doesn't look normal. None of his ear looks normal. There is a chance that some of that was sneaking behind it. And as long as I can remember, he's always kind of had these gaps over the top of his eardrum, and it's kind of got this odd little fold in it as well. I mean, like I said, it's his ear, nose and throat, so they're more than happy with how it looks and how everything is in there. So they're not unduly concerned. But it's definitely better to get rid of a lot of this stuff. Again, you can just see a few little white specks here and there. No pun intended there, here and there. Speaking of puns, I've got my books ready, I will do some in a bit. I'll just explain to those of you who might not have seen any of these videos before, and you might have just found it, and in which case you're probably thinking, what the bejesus was I watching to make the internet suggest that I wanted to watch this? What am I doing here? Quick, 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 get out of here. Bail. And if that's you, then yeah, get your coat. If this isn't your kind of thing, then get your coat. But if you have stumbled across it and you're thinking, oh, this is interesting, I've not seen anything like this before, then I'll briefly explain what happened here. Probably should have done this earlier in the video. So what this gentleman's had, he had some surgery many years ago. I think it was maybe more than 10, less than 20, not sure the exact number. But he had an infection in his mastoid bone, which if you just touch behind your ear, you'll see there's a hard bone there, and that's the mastoid bone, and he got an infection in that. And that bone is kind of like a honeycomb. That's why I'm doing this. What's that about?
All right.
It's like a honeycomb structured bone with lots of air-filled cells in it. In fact, if you want a really good example of that, have a look in the video I posted just a couple of days ago, because you can kind of still see the honeycomb effect in that mastoid cavity I uploaded a couple of days ago. I can't remember what the name of the video is called. Fascinating mastoid, possibly. But go and check that out, because you can't see as much of that in this one. I completely forgot what I was talking about now. Yeah, so the mastoid bone is the bone behind there. So he got an infection in that, and sometimes treating these things with antibiotics isn't enough. So what they had to do was drill it away. Basically, had surgery and got the jackhammer out. They didn't get a jackhammer out, but they had to drill it away, and they removed part of his ear canal wall. So as you're looking at this ear canal, to the right hand side of that, you'll see his kind of ear is shaped like this, and then it kind of stops here, and then you've got this shelf, and that's where the canal wall was removed, along with all this other infected bone. And I think when they did that, they also did have to reconstruct the eardrum, because again, it doesn't look completely normal there either. Without seeing the notes of the operation or any scans, I couldn't really tell you what's what down there. But I assume ENT know. But it looks a relatively normal-ish eardrum, but it's got this odd little fold in it, and where there's some space at the top of it as well, which is odd. Don't know, but I've sent some pictures with him, so he can go and get it looked at the next time he goes to see his ENT specialists. But they've known him for donkey's years, so they're more than aware of everything that's going inside his ear. So as you can see, lots of peeling. As I said, anybody who likes peeling, you're really going to enjoy this. And it does seem like a faff. And is it strictly necessary, because none of this is affecting his hearing? It is, because as I alluded to before, word of the day there for you. As I alluded to before, he gets these chronic fungal infections if we don't strip away as much as we possibly can. Which it's a faff, but for him it's worth it. It does make a big difference to him, but it is difficult to do. There was a suspicious area in his cavity as well, which I haven't got to yet. So you haven't actually seen much of the cavity, which is on the right hand side as you're looking at it. But when we do get in there, you'll see, and I do remember he had this area last time. There's a, when I lift up a little bit, there's just a little bit of soggy discharge underneath it. Just a bit higher up now, but we're going to get to that in a second. I think we're going to start working towards it now, yeah. So where you're seeing now here, this is in anyone else's ear, you won't be able to get to this point because that's the old canal wall, and it's not there anymore. And what's really odd about mastoid cavities is, I don't know if it comes across in the videos because I do leave my sound in. Here's this soggy area I was telling you about. There's a little bit of pus under there. Yeah, I have asked him to treat it. He does have a spray that he uses if there's any suspicious areas. I don't think it's anything too major, to be honest. So yeah, you can't get to this area. This is the old canal wall, and it's just been literally drilled away. It's not there anymore. I'm just going to try and touch up against this area to see if there is any more discharge there, and there wasn't. It was just dry there. So I think all the discharge that was underneath that was literally just very superficial, just lying on there. But I've advised he gives it a spray for a few days anyway, just to make sure nothing takes over there. Been a very busy week here. I've been trying to find time to upload this video for a while. I just haven't found it because it's been completely fully booked, the clinic. The only time, usually I get the odd free appointment where it's not been filled. Most days, but I'd say for the last few weeks that's just not happened at all. So the only time I'm able to do these is if there's a shorter appointment and I get time in between, because people do still occasionally turn up and there's nothing in their ears. And I give 45-minute slots to each appointment, and there's only so long you can stretch that out chatting away if there's actually nothing to do with somebody's ear. So that's when I'm doing this. There was a chap who came and nothing in his ear, so I use my time constructively instead of just sitting about doing nothing. Well, I do a bit of that too. Don't tell Mrs. Wizard though. I do tend to find myself watching all kinds of weird stuff. I don't know if you guys do the same. This is for people who are watching on YouTube. Because obviously I do this, I get recommended. The flipping algorithm, it'll suggest all kinds of weird stuff, and you're like, eh? What makes you think I like this? But it does send me all kinds of weird stuff that I'm like, no, I've got a pretty strong stomach. Some of it I find interesting. Let me know what I know what led most people here. It's usually through like blackheads, pimple popping. She started it, it's all her fault, Dr. Lee. She was a pioneer, let's just say, paved the way. But let me know what other kinds of things that gets recommended to you if you watch this kind of thing. The kind of things that I get sent is drain cleaning, pipe unblocking, that kind of thing. And I did get drawn into one of them just because of the guy who was doing it. His personality was hilarious. You might well know him. Is he called? He's an Australian. Drain cleaning Australia, is it? And I wasn't really enjoying the thing that he was doing, but he was just really entertaining. Go and check him out if you have. If you haven't heard of him, go and check him out. He's really entertaining. So here's the bit I was telling you about before, and this is a really difficult area to get into. And it's all due to me being left-handed doesn't help with this here, because trying to get something in the top left corner is really difficult. And I've had him in, this poor fella, I've had him in all kinds of strange positions and situations when I'm doing his ears to try and get to various different areas. But the problem, you can see it's a different angle now, so we've had to figure out figure out the geometry, if you will, to try and see what angle we can get to. But there's like a hard bony lump where the suction tube is, just about a couple of millimeters back, just at the top edge of the picture, and to try and get underneath that and then up without brushing up against it it's nigh on impossible. But we managed to find an angle. But this stuff was tough, and because it's a fine end tube, I've done with pretty much all these procedures with the fine end tube, because that delicate peeling you have to do. And because this was so close to a lot of delicate areas, there was no way I was going to put a full-size tube down here or a tool. It would have been foolishly dangerous. But there is a string of keratin here, of dead skin. But I'm aware that he does have these kind of gaps around the top of this reconstructed eardrum. Now, those may have been there before. Has this created it? I'm not entirely sure. When I've seen him before, I don't recall seeing a collection up here, to be honest. But you might see it flexing as well. This is why I was a bit wary about. Sometimes you have to get to a point you think, should I do this? Should I carry on doing this? But he didn't feel a thing at all. But I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I finally removed this piece, because he said instantly it made quite a big difference to his hearing. Now, his hearing's always been okay in this one, not brilliant, but not terrible either. And he said that removing this had made the biggest difference out of anything we'd ever done, and that's even been when the canal's full as well. Now, I know it looks like I'm not doing much here, but it's the only angle I can get to get hold of this, and I'm waiting really slowly until the pressure in the machine builds up so that I can yank it out, and there it goes. And as you can see, looks really weird, doesn't it? After this string of keratin comes by, because you've got this little odd triangular appendage, let's call it. Again, the anatomy of what's going on here, you can hazard a few guesses, but without seeing what it looked like before, that's all they are, guesses. Without seeing an X-ray, I don't know what they've removed, what they've put back, so I wouldn't like to guess wrong what's going on there. But again, I've sent him with a picture to his, along with a little letter to his ENT specialist, and they can have a look, say, and I'm sure they'll pretty much say, yeah, it's always looked like that. That's how it looked like after his surgery. But it's good to get these things checked out. So I think there's just a few little bits to peel away that I must have not seen before. So this is the cavity that you see in here. So this wouldn't be in anybody else's ear canal. And nice and clean cavity as well. Yeah, one of the weirdest sights in earwax removal videos. They always are mastoidectomies. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, feel free to leave me a comment, like the video, and if you could subscribe to the channel, then I would really appreciate that. And if subscribing to the channel is not enough and you want more of this kind of thing, you can consider becoming a member, and you can get many more videos. I think I've put up 8 members only videos today. So you can, if that's something that you're interested in, then there'll be a button down below that says join. If not, just there's a button down below that says subscribe, and that doesn't cost you anything. It just helps out the channel a bit. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. But for now, take care of yourself. I'll see you soon. Ta-da.